Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BizzTalk Africa. I'm your host, Jason Schuster from BizzTech, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Vidya Mike. Vidi, how are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you still in Florida?
I am in Florida, but I'm so hyped up for today's conversation.
Me too. Well, we are here today with Tony Ojobo. Did I say that right?
That's right. You got it right. Yes.
Excellent. And Tony is the president of the African ICT Foundation. And we're really excited to have you here today, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, if we, to get started today, and by the way, our topic is very interesting. It's how to make ICT more affordable and reachable. Tony's the perfect person to talk about this from his organization. Tony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, give the audience a little bit of an insight into your background?
Okay, thank you very much for having me on this platform. Like you said, I'm Tony Ojobo, the president of the African ICT Foundation. I assumed that role in 2018, December of 2018, after I had retired from the Nigerian telecom regulator. That is Nigerian Communications Commission. My adventure in telecoms actually started in 1982. After graduation, I joined an organization then known as the Nigerian External Telecommunications in Lagos as a commercial officer. I was in that organization for about 13 years. Then I left. So in the year 2000, I was invited to join the Nigerian Communications Commission, which is the telecom regulator in Nigeria, because in Nigeria, you have broadcasting regulator and the telecom regulator. They are not really converged yet, but I think they are working towards that convergence of having one, just like what you have in the US, where you have FCC, and in UK, you have Ofcom. So, but you have the telecom regulator and the broadcast regulator. So I worked with the telecom regulator. I worked with the telecom regulator for 18 and a half years. And within that period of time, I was able to see the revolution that happened in the industry in Nigeria.
So was that specifically only for Nigeria, the telecom regulator, or was it further than Nigeria?
It was just for Nigeria. I mean, it was just for Nigeria at the time. Nigerian Communications Commission, right? Now, right. So that was for 18 and a half years. So when I retired in 2018, the guys at the African ICT Foundation, they sent me a mail.
Oh, I think we might have lost Tony for a second.
Just a little.
Tony, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Tony, if you can hear us, we've lost you for a second. Hopefully we'll get you back here in just a second. And just I do see you. We can't hear you at the moment.
Considering the topic, it's actually a little bit funny.
It is a little bit. Oh goodness. Oh goodness.
He's trying.
He is trying. So, but for very interesting, started in telecoms in 1982. So Tony has some serious experience in telecom, and not just experience, but has been able to probably witness the evolution of telecoms in Africa in a way that a lot of people don't get a chance to do. That's a long time.
Yeah, but I feel like now it's going for that next revolution. So how it evolved before, it'd be good to hear, because it's kind of almost indicative of what's going to happen next, right? I mean, we have some exciting players. Tony, we've been filling the gap here and trying to, we've asked a whole stack of questions you weren't here for, but fill us in. What's going on?
It's okay. We can see you and hear you now, Tony. It looks like the connection.
Yeah. Can you see me
Yes.
now, right?
We can see.
Yeah, I
you.
can see you and we can hear you. Wonderful.
I guess it's one of these challenges of networks in Africa. I mean, you have the broadband is not that strong yet. So that's also why I'm on this platform today to talk about how we can make this affordable, how we can make it accessible, and then how the roles that organizations can play to ensure that we have pervasive provisions of broadband. So this is one of the
perfect.
challenges we have here because of poor infrastructure.
Absolutely. We will get there. We'll get there. Well, then, so your background again, Tony. I was just saying your background is impressive. Being in telecoms for basically 40 years. If we
Yes.
look at it, right,
Yeah,
since 1982.
Over 30 years, yes.
So, yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So in December of 2018, I assumed this position of the president of African ICT Foundation, a not-for-profit organization that is actually looking at how we can partner with government in Africa to, through advocacy, for them to come up with policies that will make ICT affordable, make it accessible, and then also see how agencies of government can adopt ICT in managing their affairs. One of the issues that you have in Africa is that of corruption. And
okay. We are so surprised, Tony. We've never heard about this before.
ICT actually can curb corruption.
Yes, it has a visibility and transparency, doesn't it?
If you reduce the human interface in organizations, where things are done online, then there's the likelihood that it can actually curb corruption to a great extent. However, the flip side to it is because of jobs. Now, when you introduce that, how do you balance the issue of providing jobs for the huge unemployed graduates that you have? So, but then, ICT is critical for development. So in our foundation, we are looking at issues that has to do with e-learning, e-health. Now, and in e-learning, the reason for that is because of COVID-19, we discovered there was a huge digital divide in terms of long-distance education during the COVID-19. Whereas the people in the cities had access to the internet, the people in the rural communities did not have access to the internet. So people in the cities that had access to the internet, they had computers, they had internet facility, they were still on with their schools. Whereas the ones in the rural communities, they were off school for almost a year. So our argument is that, look, there has to be digital equity, there has to be digital equality. In other words, all humans should have access to the internet because the internet has become a fundamental human right today. So our position is that we want to work with governments in Africa to see how they can come up with policies that will kind of bridge digital divide, bring in place digital inclusion in terms of gender, in terms of profile, both for the rich and for the poor, in terms of the urban communities and the rural communities, in terms of the unserved and underserved communities. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. Recently, we signed an MOU with OCAM. OCAM is an organization that is an organ of the United Nations, UNESCO specifically, actually looking at issues of equality in the internet. That is looking at issues of open internet, equal access to all. And they have what they call the Rome Agreement, which is rights, openness, access, and then multi-stakeholder engagement. So we are looking at where everyone regardless of where you're living, regardless of the income that a family has, should have access to the internet. Because one of the ways that you can actually, take it is to make available this tool, this internet, actually has become like an enabler today. You can imagine businesses today without the internet. Take internet out of banking, take internet out of health, then you know exactly what it is. So that's what my organization is doing, seeing how we can partner with international organizations, partner with governments, advising areas of policy that will make internet affordable to all.
Wow. Excellent. I couldn't agree more, Tony. It's internet access is absolutely essential to human life right now. It's unavoidable. You cannot hope to really have a shot at doing anything without access. It's just.
But what comes with that, Tony, is a lot of cyber fraud and security risk that's coming through.
Yeah, well, you see, you need to weigh. You need to weigh all of it.
Good and bad, right? We have
the merits and the demerits. But I would say that the merits actually far outweigh the demerits.
Indeed.
Because technology also has a way of fixing fraud.
But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. You were talking and you made a great point about e-learning and about education and stuff like that. A lot of the fraud and cyber fraud and all these kind of stuff is young people who sort of know how to do things and they want attention or whatever. I think if you start to encourage these people, provide ways in which they could actually earn a living, they spin that talent into something that actually helps everybody grow.
Yes, we're on the same page on this. As a matter of fact, I have an ICT hub.
I know, DigiHub, right? It's on your site.
TechX, yes. Now, the reason why that was set up actually when I retired from the NCC was just because of what you're saying. You have a crop of young people who actually have it here.
They have
They have knowledge, they have ideas. And so the thing is that, okay, now this same mind and ideas and creativity that you have that is being used in the area that is negative, that is area that is not legal. The same kind of mind can also be used positively in a way that you can actually become another Bill Gates, you can become a Mark Zuckerberg, you can become a Larry Page. So the thing is, a kind of a change in orientation, a change in the mindset, a change in that look. It might take a little more time, but it's going to be enduring. Now, the youths of these days actually are too much in a hurry. There seems to be some kind of competition. I want to make it at all cost. And in that process, anything that brings money, they want to go for it. But in that process, people now begin to engage, especially in my country. I wouldn't want to shy away from that, but the point is that, and that's why we're engaging with the government, because if the government is able to come up with policies that will encourage organizations to grow, create jobs, then a lot of people are going to be taken out from the unemployment market and then put in the industries. And then, so when they're engaged, then of course, because really what creates this problem is the fight for survival. People want to survive, but in the process of trying to survive, they're just looking at, ways and means of survival. But that, of course, is beginning to happen because we are seeing in Africa today, a number of young people, a lot of startups, as at the last count, about over 3,000 plus startups across Africa. All that are doing very well in tech area, especially in agriculture. So now, young men are now beginning to see that, yes, I can actually make money. if I'm able to translate my idea into a product or a service. Now, because money is actually about value. If I'm able to create a value that people want, if I'm able to solve a problem, then of course money will come. So people are beginning to, see
the correlation.
Identify problems. Yes.
Yes.
And then beginning to come up with solutions with a tech solution, because that is actually how the money.
Here. I mean, we have been seeing on BizzTalk, we have seen no end of all sorts of people, young people, old people, people from all generations actually embracing, digitization and pulling it together. There was one guy made a mark on my in fact they all did, but this guy dropped out of school. He was in civil engineering, and he was like second year or something, and he's like, you know what, this is not doing it for me, because the education is all good, but what am I going to do after? What am I going to do with this? And he started off working with businesses to try and help them make more money, become more efficient. Then they build their own platform. And then they're helping these companies get access to information and services that they didn't have before. But what this tells us is the digitization and education, it's not one or the other. You could do all of it and utilize it and harness it to actually grow your economy.
Yeah, you're right. I ran into a high school graduate. Just cool. And this guy has been able to build a drone. He's been able to that can fly as high as like 1,000 feet. Just high school. Has not been to the university. He's been able to do a drone. And he says, look, he said, all I need is to get a camera. I'm fitting a camera into this drone, and then can, from where I am, control that camera, and it returns with some information, data that can be analyzed. Now, just in high school. So I agree with you that, look, that's why the young man left the university and said, look, what am I doing here? I'm wasting my time here. Let me just go.
Absolutely. It's not fulfilling.
And you see, that is what is happening now, because people are not just looking at the certificate now. People are looking at value.
Thinking.
Yes, I have a certificate, but what value can my certificate, what skills do I have? So it's not just about certificates these days, it's about the skills.
Yes, 100%.
To a certificate, because it's the skill that will put food on the table.
This is the whole thing behind, entrepreneurship as well. This is why we've seen a rise, because before people are mentally programmed. I go to school, I go to university, or I get some higher education, get a job, and work my way up to the top.
Yes.
Now we're saying, you know what, you could start at the top.
Yes.
Build your company, put value into it, and grow the company, not just grow yourself. And that is where we see a fundamental shift in the last 20 years, when you had the Industrial Revolution, to where we are now. We're seeing that shift. And this is very, very exciting. And you know what? It started off with people coming out of university. But you just give a classic example of somebody in high school. There are kids in their homes, in their parents' home, in their bedroom, building websites, hacking systems, doing all sorts of stuff. All those kids contact us, right? You need to use your intelligence. We're going to have BizzTalk for kids very soon, where we're going to say, you know what? You have an idea, talk to us about it. We will connect you with the rest of the world who's looking for people just like you.
You don't need kids. Yeah, I think we could get on board with that maybe.
Sorry. Okay, Tony, I'm like the bit that Jason didn't tell you is I talk a lot. So I'm gonna
I didn't get a chance to warn him. Sorry, Tony. No, I'm just kidding. Biddy's wonderful. Biddy's wonderful. Very, very yeah, I love her as a co-host. I couldn't do without her. So okay, let's keep the conversation going. So I had a kind of maybe a random question. You guys are you guys are trying to make these huge changes, and like you said in the beginning, one of the biggest obstacles is government.
Yeah.
Is there kind of a blueprint that you guys are following that has worked well in other African countries in trying to move this issue along, or would you say that you guys are really pioneering this process of trying to make change?
I think we are pioneering a process because the digital revolution in Africa is maybe just about 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then the revolution in the internet, especially with the advent of the 3G, started about 2009, 2010. So just looking at about 11 years. So the boom really, especially with regards to the internet technology and what it's been able to do, really just has happened within this past 10 years. So in the area of policy, a lot of African countries are still not really sure about the kind of policies that have to be in place to drive digital technology and digital. So that is why you still have largely huge population of people in communities that don't have access yet. So, for instance, I know that in some of the countries they have the Universal Service Provision Fund that is supposed to kind of ensure that services get to the underserved and unserved areas. So we are pioneering this, especially with what happened with COVID in 2019. There is a study that was conducted by, I think, UNESCO to show exactly what happened during COVID, how huge population of people really didn't have access to education during the period. And so you find out that in terms of governments looking at how internet technology can be used to advance education, not much really is happening in that regard. Not much is also happening in the regard of health in terms of e-health. Now, I have some statistics here. The mobile internet connectivity in Africa in sub-Saharan Africa is 26%.
Wow.
26% in sub-Saharan Africa. 3G coverage is 75%. 4G coverage is 49%. There is a gender gap too, in terms of gender gap, 37% gap between genders. The rural to urban access gap is 60% gap between the rural access in the rural and the urban, 60%. That is huge.
I think that would be the same for all utilities, right? Water, electricity. I think all utilities, it'll probably be similar.
No, this is access in terms of the internet access.
I know.
Yeah, rural to urban. And the same is also in other areas. Like you can talk about power, you can talk about water.
I think we'll see a correlation.
For utilities, I mean, it's like that. Then during COVID, 89% of primary school children in sub-Saharan Africa have no access to computers. So they couldn't have access to the internet while the COVID-19 was on. Now,
Tony, what was that percentage again?
89%.
89%.
Yes, 89% of primary school children in sub-Saharan Africa don't have access to computers. Now, this is a report from the World Economic Forum as at March 2021. That's the report of from World Economic Forum. Now, 30% of primary school age girls are out of school in sub-Saharan Africa. So you see there is a huge challenge here. We are talking about a huge population of people that don't have access. And it doesn't seem like government is really addressing this, really. Because how you know that the government is addressing a problem is the kind of budgetary provisions that are made for that. But
right.
The provision that is made for education in most African countries usually see less than 10-15% of the budget that is for education. You're looking at sometimes 5% of the budget, 6%, 7, 8% is devoted to education. So really, how can you now change the narrative? The only way to change the narrative is to make sure that it's substantial investment in education. And in education, in investing in education, you're also investing in the internet technology, investing in making sure that there is pervasive provision of the internet infrastructure in all the communities, broadband specifically, because you need huge
100%
availability to be able to run long distance education. Now,
Yes.
what we observed also in our organization is that for the schools, and most elite schools, I will call them elite schools, where the children that go to those schools, they have computers at home, they have school, and so the teachers give them assignments online. They do those assignments online and they return those assignments. We also had some other schools where they had pre-recorded their modules, the curriculum for that particular period, pre-recorded for the entire session. So the students took their laptops home and do the assignments. But that's a small percentage. So you can see that gap. So you can see, oh, yeah.
I can see.
Am
I can
off
see
again?
you, hear
Am
you
I
again,
off?
Tony. No, I can see you.
Yeah,
I
that's
can
right.
hear
So-
you. But I do want to let you know we only have about 3 minutes left. This session went by so fast.
Yeah.
Go ahead and continue what you were saying. I do want to make you aware that we're almost out of time already. This is
It's
happens to us every
fly
time.
past.
That was what Dick said, that there's always not enough time on this program,
There's not, which is why we'll have to have you back. There's no other way. We just have to have you back. So anyways, finish what you were saying, Tony. I wanted to hear that.
Yes, I was saying that that in terms of the need to have pervasive internet is necessary because we need to reduce that gap. There's huge digital divide between the schools in the urban centers and schools in the rural communities. There's also a huge gap in terms of devices. The students that have devices, both at home and in the school, there are students that don't have devices. I told you that 89% of the primary school children in Sub-Saharan Africa have no access to computers at home. 89%. That is huge. So how can you, even when you want to have long distance program, they don't have computers at home. So how are you going to be able to do that? So that is why there is need for organizations, nations, United Nations, other organizations to, this has become like an emergency. Something has to happen. We don't need to have another COVID-19, to be able to pull a whole lot of people that are down up. All of those people that are in places where they don't have access, there should be some measures, there should be policies by governments to make sure that all of those people are taken care of. It could be by way of equipment manufacturers, having some cheap devices, that can be provided, some smart devices that are low-cost devices that can be provided. That it could be by way of government investing substantially in rolling up broadband infrastructure in those locations so that both the children in the rural communities and those that are in the urban centers can actually be speaking at the same level. But what is happening now is that there is a divide. So only those ones that have access are getting the good jobs. Those other ones that are in the rural communities, somebody graduates and has never even used a computer before. So how can he compete with people that have had access all their life. So I'm very passionate about digital inclusion. It's dividing the world. It's making the world have the haves and the have-nots. And something has to be done about it.
100%. If anything, COVID exposed a lot of things in this world that need to be addressed, and this is one of them.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
Tony, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Your organization is doing amazing things, and I can't wait to have you back. We need to have you back on the show again. We need to dive more into this because there's definitely, I know that you have a lot more to share, and Viddy has a lot more to ask. I promise.
well,
anytime I'm here, anytime you invite me.
I am now a member
Perfect.
of African ICT Foundation, right? So just saying.
Yeah, Viddy, that's nice. It'll be good to have you.
Yep,
Thanks so
that's
much
Viddy.
for giving us this
I love it.
platform here. I appreciate it. Thank you. Jason,
Well, again,
that was good. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
thank you,
Pleasure.
Tony. We appreciate having you here. And Viddy, thank you so much as always. You're such a wonderful co-host. I love having
Thank
you.
you. Okay.
And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Everyone, till next time, have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.